Story 1. We have found a medication that significantly slows the course of multiple sclerosis, and it is currently undergoing clinical trials for a potential cure. Story 2. There is an acquired immunodeficiency syndrome treatment that is 100% preventative. It is being licensed royalty-free to 6 generic manufacturers. Story 3. Last year, active shooting deaths fell 4 times compared to previous years, after years of increases. Story 4. There have been some interesting scientific advancements. Researchers at Texas A&M University have started developing self-healing concrete that uses sunlight to repair itself, potentially reducing infrastructure costs and enhancing safety. Researchers at Binghamton University have developed biodegradable plastic from food waste. Researchers at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology have developed a new bionic knee that integrates into tissue, allowing for prosthetics that feel more natural and work better. Story 5. People are still in the business of being kind and helping others. It just does not get talked about. Some believe it is only great power that can hold evil in check. But that is not what I have found. It is the small, everyday deeds of ordinary folk that keep the darkness at bay. Small acts of kindness and love. J.R.R. Tolkien. Story 6. The weather in my area in California is in the 80s, usually ranging from 90 to 100 degrees, and there have been no major wildfires nearby for a while. Story 7. My movie theater has been adding showings of international films, and it has really brought people back to theaters. It is fun seeing people go to the theater instead of always sitting at home streaming. Story 8. An injection that lasts for a full year is being released for flea and tick prevention for dogs this month. I see many dogs with chronic health issues from Lyme disease. Some dogs dislike taking the monthly chewable medicines, or people forget to give them, myself included. I am happy for better options for our canine friends. Story 9. This may be something you would file under less negative instead of positive, but violent crime appears to have dropped to pre-pandemic numbers in most of the nation. Story 10. There is a woman who works at the local Wendy's drive-thru who brightens everyone's day. After the standard recorded welcome message, she says, "Welcome to my Wendy's. What can I get you, honey?" She sits at the window taking orders and filling drinks, and she is a ray of sunshine. Story 11. Universal cancer vaccine trains the immune system to kill any tumor. Science is often where I go to find positive news. So many people working incredibly hard to make the world a better place. The United Kingdom is making incredible strides in this area. Yes, there are challenges in the United States with reduced funding for research and many concerns. However, let everyone have one moment of positivity. Story 12. A company is close to producing a medication that will cure Stargardt disease and retinitis pigmentosa. There has never been a cure for Stargardt disease or the advanced forms of retinitis pigmentosa. It is wonderful that millions of people who are vision impaired because of these diseases will be able to see again or at least stop the progression to complete blindness. Story 13. Extremely small and only concerns one person, but I passed the mathematics test by 9 points that I needed to pass in order to graduate. This is very important for me as I have historically been awful at mathematics. Story 14. We rescued a mother dog and her 4 puppies. As of today, they have all been adopted into their forever homes. Story 15. I picked up a stray cat that was abandoned by my neighbors and took it to the veterinarian. The cat is clear of all possible diseases and now has a forever home with me, my other cat, and my family. Story 16. More people are choosing personal growth, going to therapy, leaving toxic jobs, and setting boundaries. That is revolutionary in its own way. Story 17. Even though I suffered and made mistakes, I am one day closer to no longer being homeless. That is kind of cool. Story 18. Not the whole United States, but my skin biopsy came back benign. I passed my comprehensive examinations for my doctorate, and my ex and I reached an agreement for him to finally start paying the back child support he owes. I needed a good week. Story 19. In many parts of the United States, you do not have to worry about being arrested for simple possession of cannabis anymore. There is also safe access to cannabis in these areas. However, there is still significant room for improvement. Story 20. Medicine is healing people in ways it could not a generation ago. The condition that caused the emphysema my father died from is now harmless when managed with medicine not available in his time. Story 21. Prime fruit and vegetable season at the farmer's market. Peaches, blueberries, and tomatoes are all at their peak. Go and make that bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich of your dreams. Story 22. My career is taking off, my marriage is great, and my first child, a daughter, is about to be born. Just 7 years ago, I was unemployed, homeless, single, and had tens of thousands of dollars in credit card debt. Life is much better now. Story 23. Ryan Trahan's 50 States in 50 Days to Raise Money for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Check out the series on YouTube. Over $10 million raised so far. Only 2 states left to go. Story 24. Chicago just broke ground on its first affordable housing complex specifically designed for Native American residents. Story 25. We should not need food banks. However, despite our government, people are stepping up. I volunteer 4 hours a week. It is not a lot, but others I work with volunteer 2 to 3 days a week, 9-hour days, just to feed people who have so little. These are my heroes, willing to give so much for no pay to help so many. The woman who leads my area is in her early 60s and literally runs all day from place to place. When she sees a familiar face, she drops everything to make them feel welcome. She is amazing. It is not like many places where they just hand you a box of food. It is set up like a grocery store where each shelf has a number, and that is how many items people can take from that area. This gives people some dignity as they take things they will really eat. It is a nice way to do it, I think. Story 26. Saw a talk on potential cures for muscular dystrophy and their successes in mice and dogs. Truly miraculous work. Story 27. The Internal Revenue Service is finally ramping up audits on big corporations and ultra-wealthy tax cheats. This is a quiet win. More enforcement means less loophole abuse, and if it continues, it could actually level the playing field a bit. It is not flashy, but it is real. Story 28. There is a growing body of evidence suggesting that several million people around the world suffering from what appears to be schizophrenia are actually experiencing an autoimmune disorder that can be cured. Story 29. There are glasses with a camera being developed for visually impaired individuals. These glasses do not enable sight, but allow the user to press a button and have a large language model describe what they are looking at, with 11 labs reading the description aloud. Story 30. Lysergic acid diethylamide as a treatment for post-traumatic stress disorder and treatment-resistant depression is in stage 3 trials. Mind Medicine is the company. The new Food and Drug Administration is fast-tracking the review when trials are complete. Story 31. Baltimore and Los Angeles, both longtime Democratic strongholds, have seen significant decreases in their homicide rates. These homicide rates were famously concentrated in minority neighborhoods and have been the focus of memorable television shows and movies. Story 32. Infant circumcision rates are dropping as more people follow the principle of my body, my choice instead of your body, my choice. One of the hardest parts about addressing infant circumcision is the large number of circumcised men who either think it is no big deal or become actively upset when you try to stop it. In time, it will reach a tipping point, and how we treat infant circumcision will change drastically. Story 33. A week ago, I moved into my own apartment and started my dream job after spending years moving from rented rooms in houses and jobs I could not be proud of. I am making more money than I have ever made before in my life, and I can actually afford to be comfortable. It may not be national news, but it is a big deal to me. Story 34. My kitten is starting to finally understand not to climb my legs or use his claws on me. Next, we tackle the common play bite behavior. Story 35. Every passing day brings us one day closer to death. Father Time is undefeated. Story 36. I am eating at a cafe and restaurant whose mission is to hire, train, and support new immigrants to our region. My partner and I have been twice so far, and both times I saw someone new being trained. It makes me hopeful and very happy to support the place. They specifically support refugees. I am going to donate to them now. Story 37. Most of my state is no longer in drought. In fact, Precipitation is above average this year. The dry areas are classified as abnormally dry or moderate drought. Story 38. Entropy and the laws of thermodynamics mean that Donald Trump will eventually cease to exist through natural means. Story 39. People helping people every day are called nurses and paramedics. They seldom get the recognition they deserve. Story 40. Generation Z. I do not have children, but every encounter I have with someone in this generation is a pleasant one. Story 41. I'm about to get off work, and we have pizza at home. Nobody is talking about this. Edit. It was good. Story 42. The Iowa State Fair is allowing outside food and beverages to be brought through the gate for the first time. Story 43. People are starting to realize that our government does not care about any of us or our country, only their money. Story 44. There is a man on TikTok who was searching for a very specific notebook for his autistic brother. Fearing they were discontinued, he asked for help to find enough notebooks to last his brother. The community responded, as did the company, and he has now received close to 1,000 notebooks, well above his goal of 500. He has since been giving back by donating to teacher wish lists across the country. Nothing extravagant like prominent philanthropists, but small amounts to support teacher-driven initiatives. Another interesting story is about a man on TikTok asking Major League Baseball teams for a paperclip. That is all just a paperclip. He displays them in a binder and has since expanded his request to minor league teams, with the eventual goal of reaching other sports leagues. A few teams embraced the idea and sent him some unique paperclips. Story 45. People are ashamed of the Everglades concentration camp. Protests are happening, standing up against crimes against humanity. Story 46. Coca-Cola is switching from corn syrup to cane sugar soon. Regardless of whether it is actually healthier or not, cane sugar tastes better. Story 47. With the antagonists going so hard in the paint these days, it is truly a testament to the human spirit to see people coming together and refusing to give up quietly. The more of us we can unite, the harder their road will be. Story 48. People are getting so sick of the toxicity of constant phone scrolling that many are switching to basic mobile phones. Story 49. The heiress of Walmart has opened a medical school that will focus on preventive medicine and intends to apply the philosophy to Walmart and its businesses. As one of the country's biggest sellers of food, this is a good sign. Story 50. Almost all forms of crime have been on a steady decline for more than 30 years. Rape rates have been decreasing since 1980. Rape has actually dropped 80% since 1980, which is not only a shocking amount of progress, but also an amount of progress that makes me wonder if this is a sociological issue that could actually have a solution. Story 51. This is more personal, but my husband and I just reached our financial goal for the year a couple of weeks ago, and it is only July. Of course, the majority of that is going into savings, but still, this year has been good to us so far. Story 52. The rise of democratic socialism. I love that people are realizing that the government was built for them, not corporations. People are seeing that voting out their safety nets and giving the wealthy more control and power takes away their rights. Story 53. I really like how most of America is coming together and demanding the group of pedophiles release the Epstein files. Story 54. Other than the nonsense about the United States not allowing the Venezuela team visas, the Little League World Series is starting. My 81-year-old baseball enthusiast father and I are going to the Midwest and Great Lakes regionals next weekend. We are going to watch kids play a game, and while it is a competition, it is also great fun. I had not been around my parents for almost 30 years except for visits once or twice a year. I moved them to be near me last year, and now I get to spend time doing things like this with them. Story 55. After reading through all of these comments, there is legitimately nothing coming out of this administration's decisions. Like, what the heck? Story 56. An undercurrent of deep unrest and unhappiness with Donald Trump, his lies, and complete disregard for the Constitution and the law. Story 57. There has been a significant increase in teacher pay across the country in the last couple of years, especially in the more conservative states. In South Carolina, in 2019, a first-year teacher with a bachelor's degree was making roughly $38,000. It is now just above $50,000 with this increase happening very recently. Arkansas passed legislation making the minimum starting teacher salary $50,000. You can conduct more research yourself, but this is at least some good news for a problem that has been around for a while. This is not a cure-all for our education problems, but paying teachers better is a great start. Story 58. Massachusetts is still great. We are working on passing universal health care here. It will take some time for the Republican Party to lower our standards, and by then, their own state's economies will have completely declined. Story 59. I went to Dairy Queen and had a blizzard for the first time in 5 years. It was even better than I remember. Story 60. America is 6 months closer to the end of Donald Trump's presidency than it was at the beginning of the year. Story 61. Yesterday, I filled up my entire Toyota Corolla tank for $28. That is very impressive, especially when compared to other countries. I deeply appreciate how inexpensive gasoline is in the United States. Story 62. The largest high school graduating class ever. Story 63. My local city has been planting native trees and flowers in numbers I have never seen anywhere else, transforming the medians around the highway from grass monoculture wasteland into useful and beautiful climate resilience. These plantings cannot be underrated. Improved soil means improved groundwater infiltration, means the soil holds water longer, means less wildfire risk, means native habitat for insects and small animals which support the entire ecosystem, means shade and transpiration for lower temperatures to improve climate. Resilience means improved carbon capture, means cleaner air, and means happier humans who need greenery for their wellness. Did you know many evergreen trees release resin particles into the atmosphere that both boost the human immune system and also act as UV protection like an invisible umbrella? Now you do. Story 64. Thousands of peaceful protests against our government give us hope that someday we will have leaders who serve because they want to help people. Story 65. Maybe I am just more aware of it, but it seems like this administration is so awful, and honestly, so were the last two, that younger people and not career politicians are running for office. I think we might start seeing people in office who are actually interested in improving the lives of Americans and not just lining their pockets. Story 66. People of color play significant roles in every movie, television show, and commercial regardless of the story. Story 67. Of course, there are positive things happening in the United States now. You just are not going to see it on television or most other news sources. You must get out into the community, even if only to take a walk or window shop. Some positive things that have happened to me lately. I met with a man yesterday who will be doing some work for me to improve water drainage on my property, and then hopefully pouring a cement slab for a carport. I have wanted to do this for a few years, but other projects took priority. I have lost about 25 pounds in the past 6 months. My blood sugar level has improved, my eye condition has not worsened, and my health is stable. I work out about 90 minutes every other day, both cardio and lifting weights, and the chronic pain I feel in my hips and legs has not worsened. Some days I feel really good. In the past year, I have enjoyed a renewed interest in stereo equipment, this time acquiring audiophile-level equipment, and I have gifted my old equipment to my nephew, who did not own any. I enjoy going online to communicate with other audiophiles about making the most of my new equipment. It is an expensive hobby, but I can afford it. 2 days ago, I had a nice conversation with my neighbor, who asked me how I am doing. He told me that he and his family have been well and that he has been able to work from home. We are both hopeful that life can get back to normal in the coming months, and we are thankful for our health and the health of our loved ones. There are always things in the news to get down about, but if you do not spend too much time watching that and you get outside, you see the sun shining and the air smelling fresh. It is good to be alive right here in the United States. Thank you, God. Story 68. Nothing positive is happening here, or at least not in any way that truly matters or comes close to the magnitude of the wrong being done. Story 69. No one gives this attention, but there are several lawsuits with evidence proving that Donald Trump did not win the 2024 election. Why this is not on every non-American news network is beyond me. Story 70. While COVID-19 is still present and is transmissible, it is not nearly as deadly as it was when it was spreading around the country in 2020. Story 71. People participate in virtual walking challenges and earn medals. It is very positive and motivating, encouraging me to get off the couch and go outside to move. Story 72. States are suing the federal government, unlocking money for education, blocking inappropriate new laws, and ensuring progress continues. Story 73. Many Americans are trying to spread false information that Donald Trump committed crimes and supported human trafficking. Story 74. More people are waking up to the falsehoods and realizing that maybe those individuals in Washington do not have our best interests in mind, but their own. Story 75. Burger King is still mailing out coupons to every household in America every month. Thank you, Burger King. Story 76. The large number of small, local animal sanctuaries that successfully raise money for surgeries, care, and rehoming of tiny animals is impressive. I am not American, but as a rat owner and admirer of small rodents, it warms my heart to see the love and care many people have for creatures with short lifespans. Well done, United States. Story 77. I have worked in a very conservative industry for several years. The number of times I have seen those red hats in meetings was surprising. Since the tariffs and many people losing their jobs, the hype has decreased significantly. There will definitely be pushback in the midterm elections. Do not be fooled by right-wing supporters online. People are beginning to dislike him. Story 78. My friend's dog chewed his way out of the yard fence a month ago and ran away, but they found him in good health. Story 79. National Football League training camps just opened. The season is around the corner. Hard Knocks starts on August 5th. Positivity all the way around. Story 80. Believe it or not, the resale economy is exploding. Secondhand shopping across platforms like Poshmark and ThredUp is booming, not just for sustainability but as a tough economic strategy that everyone is quietly winning at. Story 81. The National Firearms Act is being significantly reduced, and there is an active lawsuit aiming to remove short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns, and suppressors entirely from the National Firearms Act. Story 82. Mississippi's education system has sustained a dramatic increase in reading test scores. The model they have used is now being adapted in other states. Story 83. I have been able to take vacations twice in 2024, and in May 2025 to my favorite place, New York City. I had not been anywhere overnight since 2012 because of low pay and the pandemic. I thank God I am in a union job which has enabled me to do this. Strikes work. Story 84. Generation Alpha has much more understanding and compassion than previous generations. They are being taught to identify and express their feelings, and it is a beautiful thing to see. Story 85. Multiple states are passing legislation requiring education about menopause for medical professionals, coverage of menopause treatments by health insurance companies, and accommodations for menopause symptoms in the workplace. Story 86. Bookstores, especially local bookstores, are thriving. My local bookstore is busy from open to close, and I read that Barnes & Noble is opening more stores after years of stagnation. It is really wonderful to see. Story 87. There is a growing socialist movement that has been gaining traction in many local politics. In the next 5 to 10 years, we might realistically be discussing universal healthcare. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.